All right, it looks like we're live.
Right.
Let me see what I see.
Do I hear an echo?
Do you still hear echo?
Say something again.
Do you hear echo now?
Very slightly, very slightly. Not, it's not what it was before, so I think we're good.
All right, how about now?
No echo at all.
All right, well, it's 7:01. Let's go.
Right.
Hi, Tyrion. How are you today?
Hey, Siobhan, how are you doing? I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So,
I am doing lovely. Nobody can see us though because we have our nice little Empowered Ed project showing.
yeah.
Let's
Let's
see
see.
if we can't get it. Oh, there we are.
Right.
Hi.
What's up, Siobhan? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Having a
Good.
wonderful Wednesday. Are you feeling well?
I do feel well. I feel good. I feel really good today. Feel
Oh,
really
that's
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to silence our music and just welcome everyone to our embracing self compassion, nurturing your well being in a busy world. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are so excited to be here to share with you today. And I have Tyran Jackson, who is the founder of Reborn Resilient, who's going to be here to impart knowledge and wisdom with us. And I'll allow him to introduce himself.
Oh, no problem. What's going on, Siobhan? And what's going on, everybody out there? Hopefully, you are as energized and enthused as us. As Siobhan said, I am Tyran Jackson. I am the founder and creator of Reborn Resilient. Reborn Resilient is my platform where I help those who are going through some level of trauma, tragedy, or transition in life make their transformation so they can be triumphant again. So I'm happy to be able to not just help people out there, but to also take seriously some of the things that we have to do in order to recover and bounce back from whatever happens in our life. And a big part of that is learning how to love yourself in the way that you're supposed to. So Siobhan, I am grateful and I'm happy to be here and be a part of this event that's going on.
Well, awesome. I know I did not have a lot of self compassion for myself for many years. So, this is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. And as the founder of CEO and CEO of Opua Agency, which stands for Optimistic People Unified for Awareness, we are a partner with the CDC Foundation and Newark University of Chicago. And we are promoting the How Right Now initiative. It's a campaign that's been in its like third or fourth year, and in this iteration, it's all about school teachers as well as school staff. The pandemic really set in on all of us in quite a number of ways. And with the school systems, the children, kind of caught it really bad. And so the compounding effect of that on the teachers and the school staff is really showing up and is ever present right now. And so the How Right Now campaign is an evidence-based health communications, psychology, and behavioral change theory campaign that is grounded in those things. And it actually is an award-winning campaign. They just won some awards for the campaign. It's really doing a great job. And so I really want to just elevate this campaign to help to get more in tune with wellness for school teachers and school staff, because we know that they are up against a lot. There's a shortage of staff, and there's increased student behavior as well as enrollment declines because of the challenges of COVID-19. And as a result, the teachers and school staff have experienced a lot of job related stress, emotional distress, and mental health concerns. And it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So we want to just take a moment and just focus on self compassion this week, right? So we can
Right.
talk about ways to avoid burnout, minimize worry, reduce stress. So I want to find out a little bit more about how you think about self-compassion. Tell us a little bit about your perspective on it. Is there any, significance in mental health and well-being that you think about or that comes to mind when you hear that word?
So self-compassion, health, and well-being. There's a lot there. So first I want to go back to something you touched on, Siobhan, with the teachers and what they're having to deal with. Because I want to start there. Everybody's have something that is adding stresses to our lives. And when we're talking about like with this in the school systems and when the teachers, they have a lot of pressure, not only to help the thing that's going on with themselves. What I found, and as we're transitioning this over, what does that mean to me? Um, and like many of us, we go through these times in life where times just get very difficult and it gets hard. And when you're doing things for other people, such as the teachers, constantly being there for the kids, such as those who are parents who are constantly having to give themselves in order to make sure that their kids have, we find ourselves where we may neglect ourselves and we're doing so much for others and we don't necessarily take those steps to give the love to ourselves that we need. So when we talk about self-compassion, the first thing I think about is, are you giving yourself the love that you need in order to keep going? And that trickles into the way that we look at ourselves, the way that we believe in ourselves, the way that we feel from the inside out as well. And that's reflected in the sense that how we actually operate in the world, how we're able to function. So without that level of self-compassion, I don't think we show up fully for the people that we are trying to give everything for. So to me, that self-compassion is having to take the time to recognize when I'm not loving myself like I should. And what steps and what actions do I need to take to get back to learning, loving, and appreciating myself? So that's that's where self-compassion is for me. And I know it is very difficult to do that all the time. But when we have those challenges, we have to not forget about ourselves.
Yes, and I think when you don't do it, then that tends to make the stress even more compounded, right? So you have to figure out a way, whether it's just taking a break, a mental break, taking a physical break. I know I like to get up and go to the gym. Sometimes I would like to go and just hang out in the hammock or even just walk to the mailbox. I know my neighbors probably are like, oh my gosh, she just sit there and walk to the mailbox back and forth because they're coming late and then there's no mail there. So I'll attempt to keep going back. But making sure we having those breaks in between, right? Now, when you talk about that inner critic
Mm.
versus the self-compassionate voice, what comes to mind?
Well, that inner critic is always someone who judges yourself, and you think that you're not enough. I think that inner critic is hard on ourselves, and I haven't found too many people who aren't their own worst critic. I know that we operate with the standard, and a lot of times we set our standards so high that we can make it a challenge for us to even achieve what we want to achieve. And what that can do is lead us to thinking that we're failing, and we don't want to fail. We when we do that, that has an effect on our mood, on the way that we feel and we operate. And so I think sometimes having that inner critic, although we want to have those high standards and we want to push ourselves to achieve, we also need to understand that that can be contradictory to that self-compassion that we need to provide to ourselves when we need to take those moments. Like you said, sometimes we just need to take that deep breath. We need to take that break. We need that stroll to the mailbox in order to be able to just get that moment of peace in the midst of all the chaos that's going on in life. So I do think that it's important to be able to push yourself and to be able to set, high goals in order to achieve. But sometimes that inner critic can prevent us from getting to those goals, but also bring the likelihood of us being compassionate towards ourselves down. So,
Yeah, some of the practical tips that I use to kind of help remind myself is I have like a screensaver that says I'm betting 100% on me.
yeah.
Then I also have like little sticky notes. I'm a big sticky note person. And I have little reminders that are like, if you want to build self confidence, do the one thing that you feel like you're afraid to do. Or you can't hit a home run sitting in the dugout. That's one of my favorites because then that just really makes me feel like, you know what? I got to get up to bed. I got to go do it so I can make this thing happen.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, Siobhan, and I use affirmations. Sometimes I have to tell myself that I am great, that there is greatness inside of me, that I'm special, I'm exceptional. Sometimes we need to do those things to be able to get our mindset, get us, trained in order to where we have that belief and learning to love the strengths and the attributes that we do carry. So to me, that's another way in showing yourself some level of self-compassion that you are able to believing truly that you are able to do the things that you're set out to do. So,
Yes.
I,
Now, what about boundaries?
so I think boundaries are important. Boundaries. I used to be more of a people pleaser than I am now.
Mhm.
And what I realized in making a transition is that you have to put boundaries up to protect yourself. And
Mhm.
so sometimes those boundaries come with time, how much time that you're giving to people. Of course, you're going to look out for your immediate family, but everyone doesn't need to take away from you, because I found myself being drained.
Mhm.
And when you are giving so much time and so much energy to others, and sometimes those people don't respect your boundaries, want to call you at any time or want you to stop what you're doing in order to take care of what they're doing because it's more important. Yes, it's more important to them, but when you look at it from the standpoint of, do you have the energy to be able to give and pour out to that person, you're actually hurting yourself in some of those instances. So I think that it's hard sometimes to be able to establish those boundaries, and sometimes we just don't do it, and we find ourselves deeper into situations before we realize we need. But that shouldn't stop us from when we realize that we're giving too much to establish that boundary and start saying no. No is a perfectly for a lot of different situations. And when we start talking about and looking out for how to give yourself that love, sometimes saying no is actually going to be beneficial to you in order to make sure that that love is available for yourself.
Now, what about in the professional world though? Like when you're in a school system, you have, the principal that wants you to do something, you have the counselors that want you to do something, you have the students that are demanding your attention. How do you figure it all out, like without feeling like guilty or, being too hard on yourself?
I think that that's when you have to probably, when you do have the time, to make sure you're doing the
Mhm.
things for yourself, making sure that you are talking to others about the challenges that you're facing. So process and strategize, move forward. I don't know if you get past the demand in your life for the because like you said,
Mhm.
they're getting pressure from the school system, getting pressures from the principal, and then have to be there and be present for the kids. I believe that one aspect or one tip that could help is, we all need to do this in whatever profession that we're in, but understanding our time management. If we can be able to
Mhm.
carve out a little more time for ourselves and maybe be a little more efficient with some of the other things that we're doing for others, then that may be able to create a little bit of time to be able to just have that deep breath and to be able to find those times and moments to be able to just be at peace and meditate and be able to get yourself together to be able to handle the challenges that are ahead. But yeah, in the for our teachers, I know they give a great deal when it comes to by, and they're underappreciated. So with what we're doing here with this Empower project is to empower now is to be able to help, show a couple of these tips. One thing that I believe in wholeheartedly is when you do have that time, sometimes just taking a moment to journal and be able to write what's going on makes it a little bit easier to be able to at least get clarity on what you're dealing with and how to approach it and move forward. So just one strategy, one tip, but I know that there is so much that that people probably are dealing with, but don't have the time to figure out what actions can I take in order to give myself a little more love. So it's a
Mhm.
little something
Well,
there. So
Well, I think this is a good time for me to share our anthem video from the teachers to just give a little bit of perspective from real people that have real experiences and they're seeking real transformation. So let's see if I can make that happen.
All
Can you
right.
hear it?
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Teachers have more and more things to do, and that can be very stressful.
The most difficult part of my job is probably not having enough resources.
As a teacher, we have never-ending deadlines, never-ending work. There is always something to do.
I would say the most stressful part of teaching is everything not related to teaching. So communication with parents, things that are put on you by your administration.
The shortage of teachers right now, having to fill a lot of holes and wear a lot of hats. It's very difficult.
So when I'm feeling stressed, I wear it right here and then I stop sleeping well. And when I don't sleep well, then I get emotional and then the, the tears come.
My whole body just feels very tired. I'm very run down.
There are many nights that I've cried. There are many mornings I'm like, oh boy, what is my day gonna look like?
How I take care of myself is I actually teach yoga after school twice a week, and I also go for morning walks before school or after school.
For me personally, I can disconnect by just being outside.
Laughing works a lot. Being able to laugh and to have a sense of perspective, I think humor helps you to bring a distance between what's going around and yourself.
The thing that always works for me when work gets super stressful is honestly just my weighted blanket that I have. It just naturally calms my whole nervous system.
My advice to people in the teaching profession would be to create a list of 5 to 10 minute coping skill activities, mindful moments that you love, and to make it a routine and a ritual.
Each Monday, we call it Wellness Mondays, and we have different people come in to lead yoga or different exercises.
Leaning on each other and colleagues in education is essential. You have to.
Just finding people that can reassure me that I'm doing my best and that there are people out there who understand me and can help me through these situations.
We take care of one another.
Education can be a shining light, and it's really the equalizer for everybody.
You can have a really bad day at school and still realize that what you're doing is making a bigger difference.
We are the best profession in the world next to doctors, and that is my true belief. But even a doctor had a teacher.
Wow, I really love that video. She said, even a doctor had a teacher. How about that?
So true, so true. And I think sometimes we forget those things. And so that's one of the reasons why I think teachers are so important, because look, very few people have ever gotten anywhere by themselves. They've been taught how to be able to move forward. So no, I definitely think that's great. And if it weren't for the teachers, we wouldn't be here doing the things that we're doing.
Right, absolutely. So I actually put the QR code up for the How Right Now campaign. So if you scan that QR code, then you will actually be able to go to the CDC Foundation's website to get access to resources that you're able to share with your loved ones, those in your school system, those in your at your school, so that we can amplify the message of How Right Now. It's really important for us to be there to stick together, support one another, and share resources, because something that Tyran said earlier was that sometimes you just don't really know that you need the support from others in order to get through your situation, or having that support will really make all the difference. I know yesterday I kind of struggled getting out of bed and my friend called and I was like, so glad to hear from her. And it was like just a breath of fresh air. And she gave me so much hope for the day and all the things that I was pondering, or my inner critic was telling me that were not going to go right or that I wasn't doing right. She was able to dispel all of those myths. And so it was really, really helpful. I don't know. Do you ever have those moments, Tyran?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I don't think that I think it's very hard operating and functioning in the world by yourself. And sometimes we look, life be life. We go through the ups and downs and have those challenges. And sometimes we need those up. And our friends, our close network, they can sometimes provide that support that we need. But even still, we need to be able to have those things that we hold sacred, that we know help bring us joy and bring us more happiness and bring us to a place where we're in a better mood afterwards. So having those ways identified to be able to cope with and come to terms with the challenges and just to be able to make things a little bit easier is great. It's important to have a means of being help you when it's time to move forward.
Yes. Oh my. So let me see. The next thing I wanted us to talk about was um, practicing self compassion in your daily life. So, how in the world can you incorporate it into your daily routine? I mean, I do with the sticky notes. Is there other things or best practices that you've been able to do and that you found very helpful?
Well, so yeah, so one of the things I think it is right habits. And you touched on this earlier. One of the things that I do, I'm one of those people that wakes up in the morning and goes and works out. And getting started doing that, it was a little challenging, but once you get that as a habit, you realize that it helps you out. For me, it is a stress reliever. And I know everybody isn't a morning person, but you got to find when it works for you, but and what works for you. But that is one of the things that gets my day off to a good start when I just go and get there and know that that's going to help me move forward. As far as trying to, as other areas that I really believe in helping for me is I do journal. I have a prompted journal that helps me think about certain particular matters, and it varies every day, but it allows me to assess about what's going on in my life, and in some ways, it starts to allow me to really find those areas that are really pushing that stress on my shoulders, on my back, and it allows me to think of solutions on how to get effort. That exercise does help me realize that there are actions I need to take in order to be able to improve my overall happiness, and that self-compassion is part of that. So these are things that work with me for the mental and emotional standpoint to help me, live as happy as I possibly can.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And I would say, Samantha just dropped a note in the chat and she said she started exercising in the mornings as well. And it is very difficult, but she's had much better days since she started. And I have to say that that's been my experience as well, because, and even once you get into the habit of doing it, you still sometimes will struggle. But then afterwards, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I got up and got out and I made it happen for today. So, I just encourage people to really figure out what is your jam and stick to it. I mean, even on those days when it's challenging and it's difficult to do, if you can just muster up enough courage and energy to just get set in motion, then you will probably be glad that you did.
Yeah. I love what you said. Find your jam, whatever that is. Be able to find that jam, then go ahead and bump it the way that you should. Let it be part of your life.
Yes. I don't know if anyone out there have any questions. I know Tyran is monitoring the chat from Facebook. I am monitoring the chat from LinkedIn. So drop anything in the chat that you have. We are happy to answer. We love to see that you guys are here and engaging with us. We really, really appreciate it. And hopefully you will scan the QR code. Let me put it back on the screen so that you can learn more about the How Right Now campaign, which is an award-winning campaign. And right now we're standing up a lot of support for teachers and school staff so that they can have support and be able to overcome all the stress and challenges that they have on a day-to-day basis. Um, so let's see here. setbacks,
Mm.
challenges. I know you've experienced more than your fair share of setbacks, Tyrian. So
Yeah, yeah.
tell me, like, think about some of the more challenging or difficult things that you or hurdles you've overcome. Was there any one, two, or three things that really just kind of helped you get over the hump?
So yeah. So I think first and foremost, when it comes to setbacks and challenges, I think one of the things that when we have something major that happens to us to be, it can be life altering, and it can cause you to shift the ways that you think and approach what you're facing, what you're dealing with, and life as a whole. But I do think that it's important to be able to stop, pause, and assess what's going on before actually moving forward. And sometimes we have to. I say this statement that sometimes rest is necessary for healing to take place. Sometimes we have to take that pause and be able to allow ourselves to be able to heal and recover before we actually set back forth, having to face the real challenges in life when we have some significance. I do believe that setbacks are intended to actually create strength within us and create opportunities for us to use that adversity and leverage it in a way to be better versions of ourselves as a result of it. But that's where being able to have that strong foundation, meaning that you've got those habits and that consistency, and that you're already learn how to love yourself and you're practicing. One of the biggest things that I did, and this was revealing to me as I was going through recovery from a tremendous setback, was realize that there was value in actually going to therapy and learning not just to talk and understand and open up about some of the challenges I was facing, but it did allow me to think through solutions to the problems instead of just neglecting or ignoring the problems. And so what that also did was created a level of vulnerability within me. And once I started I started realizing how to deal with this that I might not have been strong enough or capable of dealing with before. So I do think sometimes that there are the right people who can help us identify where those blind spots are. And if we are willing to get that help to can figure out how to not let them impact us as much as they currently do. So I'm a big proponent of being able to get that right help, that right advice from the right people, and that counseling. And that goes back to something that we talked about. Sometimes you need that external person to reach out to you or to talk to or to be able to give you some insight. I'm a big person on energy. And so it helps if they got a positive energy, positive spirit. Siobhan, you exemplify that, you embody that. But I think that when we do have those who can help lift us up when we're down, and despite whatever challenge that we're facing, but we have to be willing enough to open up and share some of those things, because that's where it becomes it becomes incumbent on us to be wanting to get past it and allowing others to help in that regard.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes we still have this stigma about therapy. And I embraced therapy back in my college years just because I had dealt with so much trauma and wanted to get through it and get over it. And I found it very rewarding.
Mm.
And as a mother, it's something that I try to instill in my daughters. Like, it's okay to get therapy. It's okay. And it doesn't mean that you're crazy, you're insane, or any of that. It's just a way to balance your mental being, like the way you're thinking, because sometimes we're just off,
Yeah.
and it's like, how could you be so off? And it's the furthest from the truth that you're telling yourself. So having someone else to be able to encourage, inspire, and just kind of talk you through some things can just really be the shift that you need. And it doesn't always have to be a licensed therapist. I mean, of course, a licensed therapist would probably be able to help you navigate some of the more challenging things, but just being able to run some ideas by your friends, or, a family member or sister, auntie, can really be, very helpful and decompressing. So I really appreciate you mentioning that. And then Scott said, doing nothing is like treading water. If we tread too long, we'll sink. So you got to get up and get after it. I love that, Scott. Yes, you do. Indeed, you do. I actually am caring for my grandmother who's in her 80s, and she has her good days and she has her bad days. And I've been trying to get her onto some therapy as well. It's just a little bit of a challenge logistically to get her there. So I've tried to do appointments, but that hasn't worked out quite right because I had to take the iPhone away from her because she couldn't handle that one. She has a Rise mobility phone, and you can't do video calls on there. And so it's just been a bit of a challenge, but she'll call me, and, she's upset and, feeling lost and everything. So I try to make it a point to, reach out to her as well, because she gets lonely. It's just her by herself. And so that's one of the things that we have to also think about too, is those who have, been there for us. I think about some of my teachers. There's one in particular. I always sing her praises, Miss Dorothy Adams. I don't know if she's here today because she probably doesn't check her LinkedIn all the time. But oh my gosh, she was such a joy to have in my life. And so she offers so much inspiration and encouragement at such a young age when I really, really needed it. So that was really something that I always remember. And I still send her cards and, reach out to her to this day because she just made that much of an impact on me. And I think that we kind of don't really realize how much our teachers and school staff really impact us. I mean, there are people in schools that in my, school days that weren't my teacher that actually had an impact on me. And Laura says she really appreciates us focusing on teachers and staff. Yes, absolutely. Because you guys are the world. We spend so much time with you in our waking day, right? So I don't know, Tyran, who was that one teacher for you, or that school staff member that was like your champion?
So the teacher, and I've had a number of teachers that have impacted me a significant amount. I do think that it goes overlooked sometimes how, when we're in those impressionable years growing up, how much of an influence those teachers have on us. And the person who stood out the most for me, we called him Coach DJ. He was one of my coaches, and it seemed like I couldn't get away from him if I tried. He was a school teacher for us in high school, but when I played football, he happened to be my position coach in football. When I played basketball, he was my coach when I was playing JV. And then and when I ran track, he was there pushing me as a sprinter doing that. But what I realized is that, even though he was hard in some ways, he could gauge the level of love to be able to provide in order to get the most out of me. And he gave me reason to believe in myself, that not only could I excel, in the classroom, but also on the field and doing other things as well. And sometimes I think when you have those special people who just know how to communicate with you, know how to get the most out of you, and really one of the other things that he taught me was he had a very strong work ethic. And I could see that, and that was present. And sometimes we emulate the things that we are drawn to the most. And I saw that, even though, there were some times where I didn't want to have to get back on that line and run suicide. It was actually making me, a little bit better. And that was something, it's a line between pushing too hard and making sure that you're getting the most out of your potential. And he showed me that. And in some senses of the word, I learned a little bit about resilience. I won't say a little bit. I learned a lot about it without even trying to at those earlier stages. So from a formative standpoint, he did a great deal as far as impacting my life and being able to help me. So Coach DJ, if you're out there, thank you loved it at the time. I love it now. So
Go, Coach DJ. I thought I had my clappers I was looking for so we can
yeah,
cheer for him.
yeah.
So awesome. Glad to hear that story. So now you have a company called Reborn Resilient too. And so you're able to offer support to folks as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
So yes, so with Reborn Resilient, what I do, like I said, is I've gone through this complete transformation in my life. And I realized that there are certain steps and actions that you can take when you're dealing with trauma, when you're dealing with tragedy, when you're dealing with some major setback. As I said before, we have one or two things. I want to go back to something that Scott mentioned earlier, where he says doing nothing is like treading water. We tread too long, we sink. Well, sometimes when some type of setback hits us, we have a choice that we have to make. We can either make a decision to be able to take the actions and pull ourselves up, or we can do nothing. And when we do nothing, that can pull our demeanor, it can pull our attitude down. We can fall into these states of depression and not being so excited and looking forward to the positive things in life. With Reborn Resilient, I function and serve as a life coach, helping those people who are going through these challenges be able to not just get past the grief or the overwhelm or the shock of what's happened to them, but also, and it's not just for major life altering situations. Sometimes in pushing ourselves in order to deal with the challenges that come up, or sometimes we may not be strong enough, courageous to deal with setbacks when they happen. So with Reborn Resilient, I help finding themselves in this place of being either lost or stuck, be able to assess what is going on in their life and be able to develop those skills to be more resilient and being able to bounce back, but not just bouncing back, but using the challenges that they're running into as the catalyst for creating positive change. And then once you start recognizing what those things are, then designing what life is like once you've built that resilience and you've overcome your grief, your pain, your hurt, or whatever is holding you stagnant in your life. That's where developing the right habits, being consistent, that accountability, where you are actually making lifestyle transformation. You are changing who you are, and you, in a sense, are being reborn. It's based on a foundation of resiliency and developing those skills. But what happens is you see people who are operating at a much higher level in all aspects of their life, financially, relationship wise, with their careers, from multiple perspectives, by actually practicing some of these changes, these habits, in order to create the version of life that they're looking for. So that's what Reborn Resilient is about. I realize that there is ways that we can apply resiliency. I tell people, if you choose resilience, you'll change your life. And this is just a part of what we do with Reborn Resilient.
All right. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I've put the code back up for How Right Now, so you can go there to find more resources to share on mental wellness and well being, especially for the school staff and teacher community. And I just want to say, if I wanted to highlight one of the comments in the chat from Scott. He said, taking an opportunity to speak life. Yes, positive affirmations. Um, when we see them the way they wish that they were seen, it's like dropping a pebble of positivity and watching the ripples cast outward. I really like that. Thank you so much for sharing. And yes, Laura, healing allows you to find joy. Woo! Oh my gosh. Yes. So I am so grateful to be a partner with the CDC Foundation for the How Right Now campaign. I'm so grateful for you all for tuning in. And I hope that you will be inspired to pick up the phone or send a text or send an email to someone who is in the school system, whether it's a teacher, school staff. I think about the custodian when I was in elementary school. He was the greatest guy ever. I cannot remember his name, but he was just so sweet at Ben Hill Elementary School. And he was always smiling and just so happy. But those people don't get enough praise or thanks. And so I think it would be so great if you could just send a act of kindness or a sweet gram to them just to say thank you. We see you. We appreciate you. It goes a long ways. People will remember how you made them feel, right? They won't if they don't remember anything else. So I just really strongly encourage you to, do that. And we are gearing up for the Empowered Ed Summit, where we're going to convene school staff and thought leaders in that space, as well as teachers, on June 24th and June 25th, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. So please be on the lookout for more information about it so that you can get your tickets and be in the place so we can celebrate all the teachers and school staff that we know and love so dearly. And I just want to say thank you again from the bottom of my heart for tuning in. We will have a series of webinars until then. And next week, we have none other than Steve Bowler, Stand Tall Steve. And he is an educator advocate, and he goes around the world just spreading the truth about how to improve school culture. So you don't want to miss that one. It's going to be the same time, not the same place. You're going to be on Zoom. So I'm going to send out an official Zoom link so that you can join us there. And it's going to be a great time. So I'm going to be looking forward to seeing you all there. And Tyran, oh my gosh, as always, you come through for me. So I really appreciate you so much. And I wish nothing but the best for you as well.
No problem, Siobhan. Anytime. If I can help, I'll be there.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And please tag a friend in this. This video will be available on all of our channels. And we would love for you to help us to spread the word about how right now. Have a wonderful night, guys.